I would say go with the coach. I would just say you have to vet your coach though, because there's certain things that I felt like I didn't get in my coaching experience. And it's because I didn't either ask the question, there's certain things I didn't ask. You need to ask all the questions. My very first mentor, Dr. Tremaine Young, kept pushing me. He's like, you got to ask the questions. You got to push. You paid this person this money. You need to push and ask them these questions.
Welcome to the Aid to Assets podcast, the ultimate podcast for aspiring real estate investors. I'm your host, Tiffany Watson. Join me as we discuss real estate investing for 9-to-5ers. We'll talk about everything from money mindsets and property ownership and different strategies you can use to invest in real estate. I want to empower investors, especially those of us who are working full-time, who want to navigate the world of real estate, uncover the secrets to building wealth, generate passive income to achieve financial freedom. Equip yourself with resources from experts, practical tips, and step-by-step guides on how to kickstart your real estate journey. We'll also hear from 9-to-5ers who started to build their own portfolios, what they did and how they did it, so you can do it too. Tune in and transform your main job into your biggest silent investor in your real estate investment business. This is your Aid to Assets. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Aid to Assets podcast, the ultimate podcast for aspiring real estate investors. I am your host, Tiffany Watson, and here we talk about real estate investing for 9-to-5ers. We're going to go through what you need to know, the things you need to learn, who you need to know in order to start your real estate journey. And I am so excited for my guest today. Teresa, introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, where you're from, all the fun stuff before we get started.
Okay, so my name is Teresa Harrat. I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, currently living here in Atlanta, Georgia. I am a tax mutual fund auditor by day and an interior designer, short-term rental host by night and by day as well. So I enjoy interior design. I actually do that, and I'm just found hosting, and I actually love it. So I've had a really good time. So it's been an amazing journey so far.
Love it. And if y'all see her super dope background in the back, she's recording from her Airbnb. So we're going to get the goods. So you got to stay on the entire time so you can get a tour of the coolest Airbnb I have ever got to be in. So make sure you stay for the full time. Go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe so you never miss another episode. So Teresa, let's start from the very beginning. You're from Columbus, started hosting. What made you want to get into Airbnb?
So I wanted to get something that was a little more passive. And I was trying to find different avenues of what passive in was. I thought about Turo. I thought about some other avenues. And then I was just watching David Shands, which is how we both know each other through the morning meetup. And so I just sort of thinking like, what can I do that's passive? Because I love to travel and I love to do just different things, but not to be tied down to one specific place. I'm like, where can I do that? And I just happened to be watching a podcast and they were talking about rental arbitrage, which is renting a space and then renting out the space on Airbnb or whatever platform you have to be using. So I'm like, let me do that. So I thought about that and I found a coach. His name is Zoe the Goat. And I found him and he specializes in Airbnbs here in Atlanta, Georgia. And so I'm like, you know what? I was going to move to Florida and I'm like, I pivoted. I'm like, you know what? Let me just move to Atlanta. And that's just how it kind of all started from there. So.
Wow. So First, we definitely got to shout out the Morning Meetup family. That is definitely a huge, huge community that has helped launch our entrepreneurial dreams. So talk to me though, you mentioned you had a coach. Talk to me about the importance of having someone to coach you through this process.
So, to me, it's very important to have a coach or somebody that knows what they're doing. It's just because I have an issue with following through with things. I try something and I get nervous and I just don't do it. So I just needed that little bit of kind of push to help me like kind of know the ins and outs, like help me navigate through like the mistakes, the pitfalls and things like that I would have not known anything about. And I would have been so nervous to do it on my own. And I think that's the main thing. Like for me, that's what a coach does for me. It helps you feel more comfortable doing things like missing the pitfalls, missing the mistakes, and trying to avoid all those things. And it helps you make a smoother transition and a quicker transition to do what you want to do.
Love that. And I love the self-awareness. And so you already identified an area and where you knew you needed support. And then we're looking for somebody to help you support that in following through, having that accountability, but also having the experience to help you whenever you reach those areas where you may have gotten stuck and not known how to move forward.
Right. Correct. Yep.
So now, did you solely move to Atlanta to start the Airbnbs, or was Atlanta just because your coach was there?
That both of them. So my coach was here. He knew the industry. He knew the market. So I solely moved to Atlanta to start my Airbnb. That was my main reason because I was going to move to Florida. Yeah, I was going to move to Florida. Yeah.
Wow. So talk about pivot. So already we making pivots in our business and we're just getting started. What was that like to decide? How did you get there? Where it's like, you know what, Atlanta is where I need to be.
Yeah. So I never stay in one place at one time, like at one time. And like even when I was living in Columbus, I was like moving like every year I was in a different apartment, so I'm always moving all over the place anyway. And I'm like, I was going to move to Florida, and a friend of mine, a mutual friend of mine that we used to live in Chicago together, we're like, I'm thinking about moving to Florida. Another friend of mine was like, oh, I'm thinking about moving to Florida too. And we're like, oh, we're going to move to Florida together. Like, yay. And all these things started happening. And so like I think it was like October-ish. I was going to fly out there to move to Florida. And then I listened to that. I'm just like, you know what? I took the little, they had the little, $99, course or whatever, like 3-day challenge, 2-day challenge or whatever. I took that. I'm like, you know what? This sounds perfect. The Done With You program or whatever. I'm like, I'm going to do that because I want to learn the ropes. I don't want somebody to do that stuff for me. I want to do it, with you. And so like, I just decided, I'm like, you know what? Like, no, I'm moving to Atlanta instead because I need to be because he's like, I can help you in any city, but Atlanta's the city I know. I'm like, I want to go where my coach is, where my coach knows the industry and all that, the market. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going over it. Florida can wait. And I'm moving over here to Atlanta and we're going to do Atlanta. So that's how and it was just kind of like, I was supposed to make a flight. I did book my flight. And so I booked my flight and started looking at places to move to in Atlanta. So, yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So fast forward, we got to Atlanta. We're committed. We've decided we're going to do this. And so for people who are unfamiliar, talk to us about the rental arbitrage process.
So the rental arbitrage process is actually pretty straightforward. As when you say rental arbitrage, it sounds kind of like fancy. It's pretty much a fancy way of saying subleasing, to be honest. It really is. You're renting out a spot. Okay. You're renting out a spot, and then you put that spot on Airbnb, VRBO, your own booking website, whatever. You put it on that platform and you rent it out on that platform. So you are paying the rent, but then you also get, obviously you get your income from Airbnb or whatever platform you happen to be on. So it's not, when you say rental arbitrage, it sounds super fancy, but it's really just a fancy way of saying subleasing. It really is. So that's really it. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Now, a lot of Airbnbs we see, they're just, regular furniture, just, the standard stuff. But like, I'm already looking at the background, just the wall itself. How did you decide if I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all the way in and fully decorate all that? Where did that come from?
So that actually came from Zoe as well. Like he was talking about themed units. And I was like, there was a bunch of Airbnb coaches and stuff, but his was unique. And I love that kind of niche of like, it's a themed unit. And so when we were like kind of discussing, like, he's like, what do you want your theme to be? And I'm like, oh, so I was like trying to figure it out. I'm like, I don't know. So I was like, okay. He's like, you have any ideas? And I'm like, I went to Bali. I love Bali. I traveled to Bali. And I'm like, I love Bali, but it's like, it was still like a tranquil feel, but it still would feel like a nice Airbnb. And so I went out on, I don't know where I found this, but it's called Motel something. I can't remember the name of the motel. It's in Nashville. And it was like this retro theme. There's like squirrels on the walls and stuff. I'm like, oh my God, that's so cool. It's neat. I'm like, okay, even if I bite off their exact design, they're in Nashville, so it won't matter. That was my thought process, right? And so I was like, cool. So like, but then like, as it's like, okay, he's supposed to, Zoe was helping me through that. And then I just freaking went rogue. So like, he was supposed to be like a Done With You program. I just went out and just did it all myself. So that's it. I just started shopping. So I found like a sofa. And the sofa that I'm sitting on now, this is a sofa that I found. Like I had bought 2 other sofas, which are still in the back of my garage, my original sofas. And this sofa that I found in one of the vintage shops here in Atlanta, I was like, that's it. So the things I came to, so when I first started my Airbnb, when I moved from Columbus, Ohio, and we'll show the vintage gas pump, but I had this vintage gas pump that I saw in this vintage shop when I was in Columbus before I even moved here. I was thinking about moving here. I'm like, I'm going to use that somewhere in my Airbnb. I don't know how. I'm just going to use it. I love it. I'm going to get it. So I started off with that gas pump and I started off with the sofa, and then it just morphed from there. And it just, all of a sudden, I'm just like, I had this design I didn't even realize I had. So like the wallpaper, different things like wallpaper idea I got from Pinterest. And you look on Pinterest, so Pinterest is like the gold mine of places to look for kind of ideas. And I just started looking at vintage different things. And I just from there I just kept going to the vintage shops and I just found these wonderful things. I mean, you found Tiffany found a couple pieces for me. She's like, hey, I was go shopping for you. She's like, what do you think of this? And taking pictures all over the place. I'm like, yeah, that one and that one and that one. We'll show you the different pieces that you actually picked out for me. But it was just amazing. And oh my God, I've never had so much fun. I had so much freaking fun, like going to the different shops, like talking to the people, like, what new thing did you get? Like, blah, blah, blah. And I told her kind of my design and showing like pieces, parts of my stuff kind of morphing and coming together and just watching it transform and me like putting pieces, like buying pieces. And then like, no, that's not going to work. So there's a bunch of stuff in my garage. There are pieces that just didn't quite fit and you can't return stuff to the vintage shop. So, but yeah, so this kind of, it morphed and that's when I realized I'm like, oh my God, like I wanted to be an interior designer when I was in my early 20s, which is crazy. And I never did anything with it. And then this happened. And I'm like, how? I didn't even know I had this talent, but apparently I did. So it was just amazing
Yes,
experience.
absolutely. So this
Yeah.
love was lying dormant inside of you,
Yeah,
and you've been able to bring it into your business, which is phenomenal.
absolutely.
Even just looking at you, you can see how excited you are reliving.
Yeah.
I had the journey, I had the joy of getting to see you as it was coming to life. I was nowhere near as good at shopping. I was real like standard. Teresa was like, no, you got to have some ideas and some flavor. So talk to us a little bit about that. Like, this is out of the norm. And so, how did you have the confidence to be willing to do something so different from what everyone else was doing in your business?
I think the only reason is because I had the coach. I mean, like, I think if I would have just went out and did it willy nilly on my own, I wouldn't have had the confidence to do
Mm-hmm.
it. I think though, more than anything, he gave me the confidence to do it. I did like all the stuff I designed. Like, there's a couple things. I'm not saying he didn't do his job or whatever. He did, some things, but it's like I kind of went out on my own because it gave me the confidence to say like, okay, somebody else has done it. I can do it too. And I knew somebody was like, if I messed up somewhere, I could fall back on. There was something to fall back on. I don't do well with not having a net somewhere. So
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
get a little concerned with not having some type of safety net. So even though like obviously he wasn't financially putting any money into helping me with my business, I mean that was all me. It still gave me the confidence to push forward and to make my vision kind of a reality.
And from what I'm hearing, it sounds like going into this, like I mentioned before, we're very self aware. And a lot of times we feel like we have to change things about ourselves in order to start these new adventures. But you knew you, and then you put the safety guards to help support you, which helped
Hmm.
you to be successful.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
Super cool. Okay, so then now you decorated. So looking back, if you were to give advice to someone who is just starting out, they think they want to do an Airbnb, what would you tell them to help them find some inspiration?
Oh, for sure. I would say go with the coach. I mean, for one, I would just say you have to vet your coach though, because there's certain things that I felt like I didn't get in my coaching experience. And it's because I didn't either ask the questions. There's certain things I didn't ask. You need to ask all the questions. My very first mentor, Dr. Tremaine Young, kept pushing me. He's like, you got to ask the questions. You got to push. You paid this person this money. You need to push and ask them these questions. And so like he's the one that got me into entrepreneurship in the first, even thinking about like going outside of, being corporate America and just having one stream of income. So I'd like to
Mm-hmm.
shout out to him for sure for that. But it's just, you need that. I feel like you just need that coaching and you need to have the confidence to just get it done. And it's just, once you start looking for this, well, find the coach, vet the coach. That's find the coach. And like, of course, everything sounds very shiny at first. I think we've all found the trap of like, we paid all this money and it's like, it's not exactly what we expected it to be. I think we've all had that experience with different
Yes,
coaching. And so
yes.
you really need to vet, like, they get you all excited. You're like, yeah, 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 yeah. And you're like, wah, wah, when it doesn't quite meet your expectations. And so you definitely have to
Mm-hmm.
vet your person for sure. Ask around, do different things. I know they kind of press you with the sale, like, you got to get it now, you got to do it now. It's going to be discounted, blah, blah, blah. And they give you all this flashy stuff, but you really need to slow
Mm-hmm.
your roll a little bit and really look into who you're investing in, who you're putting your money in. Ask the burning questions before you pick them as your coach. So,
That is
But
so good. That is
yeah.
so good. I have definitely fallen for that for sure. So been
Mhm.
there and realizing now on this side, what were my expectations before I even signed up? And I realized sometimes I didn't know what my expectations were. So then when
Right.
they weren't met, I was like, oh, I didn't even know that's what I was wanting. So really taking
Mhm.
the time to think about myself first. What am I looking to do? What am I looking to get out of this? And then does this coach, do they have the ability to meet those needs?
Absolutely. Yes, for
Love
sure.
it. So
Mhm.
let's now pull back the curtain a little bit. How does an Airbnb run? What is needed in order to make it successful?
Okay. So mine, the reason I love theme unit, and so like just to back up a little bit. So when I got an Airbnb, my whole point was like, I just want an Airbnb. I want passive income, whatever. I didn't realize my Airbnb has morphed into so much more than that. And so, we can talk about that a little bit like later. But the Airbnb process, it really isn't as complicated. It's like, you have all these 5 million gurus out here now trying to teach you the Airbnb like it's this magical thing. It really is not that difficult. It really is not.
Mm-hmm.
You get your spot. You have to make sure you take if nothing else, take some freaking professional pictures because you have to make your spot look beautiful. You make it look appetizing, whatever. But focus on design. Do not buy cheap furniture because people are rough on your stuff. Like I
Mm-hmm.
bought a vintage record player, for instance, and it was a working record player. I had the needle and everything. Within my second case, the needle was broke off my record player, so it was no longer
Oof.
record playable. So I took all the
Mm-hmm.
records away. It's like no more records for you. But I mean, so the radio and stuff still works. But things like that, you just have to consider things of that nature. But it really is, getting on the platform is really not that difficult. You put your address in, add on, make sure you fill in all the things, whether you're you offer like shampoo, conditioner, whether, you have a smoke detector, just like everything, like there's 50 million things you have to check off the box. You just got to make sure you check off every single box because there's an algorithm for everything. And
Mm.
it seems to always change, to be honest. So just little details. But I mean, it really isn't as difficult. I mean, when people have asked me before, I'm like, I can walk you through it, walk you through the process. And I mean, all these gurus out there that you're spending all this money for, I'm like, you really don't need to pay them because they're not really teaching you anything. They don't know the algorithm either. Let's be honest. I mean, some of them are,
Mm-hmm.
doing better than others. And it may just be a volume thing versus truly knowing the thing. But like AirDNA, which is a software that shows you like where potential profitability would be if you put like you get one here, you get one over here. So I didn't have that. I just
Mm-hmm.
went, my coach said, go rent here, and that's what I did. So it really isn't as difficult as people make it seem. I don't know if that completely answered your question, but without going into every single detail of how it truly works, but doing it.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful because I think a lot of times people just get so paralyzed by the thought of
Mhm.
trying it out. And then you get on there and it's like, oh, really? I'm just filling out a questionnaire.
Right.
I know my
Exactly.
I know my place. These are the things that I have. These are the things that I don't. Now let's take some pretty pictures. And I think that is huge, huge. And I can't
Mhm.
stress that enough. Those photos can
Are
be the
so
absolute
important.
game changer.
Because I mean, a beautiful
Okay.
place can be like gross when you're like you have your camera and it's all it's all dark and stuff, and it just doesn't highlight the thing. Like I got the person that took my photos happened to used to work for HGTV, so he knew exactly how to
Okay.
photograph
Yeah.
like interiors of homes. And that's like you have to find a photographer that does interior homes, not just somebody that like
Mm-hmm.
does pictures or does landscapes or whatever. You need to find a photographer that actually does interior like photographs. And so I think from what I've been told, Airbnb can give you suggestions of like photographers that you can use to help photograph your place. But I think it cost me like between $100 and $300. Not a like huge investment
Mm-hmm.
to have somebody do beautiful professional pictures that everybody like when they come, they're like, oh my God, it looks exactly like the pictures except better. Is what they say. That's what
Yeah.
everybody comes in and
Right.
says. It's like the pictures don't do it justice, but my pictures are very, very nice and it highlights the beautiful parts of my place to make it like people are like, oh my God, I want to book this place because it looks amazing. And that's what you want to get from your
Absolutely.
photos because that's all people have to go on is your photos.
Right, right, exactly. And so it sounds like you definitely were willing to make investments in yourself, but then also in the business in order because you had to do all of this before you even had your first guest, right?
Right. Correct. It was
So
not
talk
cheap.
about
It
that.
was not cheap. It was not cheap. And
Talk
I was
about that so. What's the
Well,
importance in investing in yourself?
it's very important to invest in yourself. I mean, I know like once I started working on like getting my vision, like there's no going back. And you want to make sure like if you're going
Mm.
to put
Mhm.
something out there, make sure you're proud of it and you know you put your all into it. And that's what I did with this. And there's been things before where I kind of, to be honest, I half-assed, excuse my language, but I like, I kind of didn't put my all into it. And this one I truly, truly did. And it's just very important to just put everything you got into your finished product because if you're not going to invest in yourself, who's going to invest in you? Honestly, I
Mhm.
mean, you can pay people to do things, but you still have to take the action to do it, right? And so with
Right,
this,
right.
it turned out to be so much easier and everything seems so daunting when you don't know what you're doing and like the unknown
Mhm.
of things and you're so used to like if you've been in your industry like I've been an accountant for I don't know 50 million years or whatever, so I feel comfortable when you step out of your comfort
Mhm.
zone, especially as being an adult, like you're trying to run and like slow it down. You got to learn how to walk first, and Dr. Tremaine always tells me this all the time. You gotta crawl, and some baby doesn't like give up, when they fall down for the first time. They just get back up and keep
Right.
trying to do it. You got to keep going. And
Mhm.
so that's a good thing that, you need to learn. It's like you got to believe in yourself and just believe that you can do it. And just baby steps will get you there. Just baby steps will get you there. And then all of a sudden you have this. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, you mentioned that it started out as just Airbnb, but now because of the love and effort and intentionality that you put into your place, it's morphed into so much more. Tell us about that, what that more is.
Okay. So I have put my place out on Peerspace as well. Peerspace and Gigster. So it's like those are like pay by the hour sites where they're like photo shoots, videos, or whatever. And so I've had, let's see, music videos. There's several music videos been done here. Like there's one music video that's out now. Her name is Queen Brittany. And she has a music video. She's out on YouTube. A lot of followers. She has that. I had somebody else with his name, Young Black, I think his name is. He just did a video here too. And then I have somebody doing a video here tomorrow, and then somebody else doing a video here on Wednesday. So like music videos, I've had photo shoots here, and then also somebody did like they were premiering a piece of their clothing line, an independent designer and doing their clothing line. So they're like doing that as well. So like there's just all these, like I didn't realize, I just thought like, I'm just gonna rent my stuff on Airbnb. I'll just VRBO. And then people are shooting videos and stuff here, like music videos. Change Church actually doing a video start. They did a video sermon series. I haven't seen it yet, but they came
Shout
here
out to
and did
Change
that.
Church, Dr.
Yes.
Daniels.
Yeah. So like it's been amazing. And it's all because of my freaking decor. It's all because of that.
That's
So
amazing. So now
yeah.
you don't just have a spot that you can use just for overnight guests, but you've essentially created your own studio space.
Mhm.
And so people are now coming and doing photo shoots and videos just because you were willing to give a yes and you were willing to
Yes.
get started. You never would have got there had you not initially started from the beginning.
Yes. And doing TFT workout videos too as well. So yeah. So some workout videos too. So yes. It's all over the
Very,
place.
very,
Like
very cool.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
so we know the glamour side of it. So you've had some celebrities in your Airbnb. You've made some good money, but we also know, like you mentioned, everything that glitters isn't always as gold. And so here we
Mhm.
want to make sure that investors, as they're getting started, they understand what they're getting into. So tell us about the not so great moments that
Okay.
comes with being an Airbnb
Okay.
host, or letting people just use. You mentioned your record player already breaking. I know that had to be heart wrenching.
Oh, I was so sad. But it was a lesson learned. There was a lesson learned. Like, don't put stuff like that, delicate things in your place. So I honestly have had most of my guests have been absolutely amazing. I have not had the horror story. I have heard some horror stories from other Airbnb hosts, but thank goodness that has not been me. I've had a couple of things where somebody was on their cycle and left a little present on my sofa and just flipped the cushion. And I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, like, just stuff like that, where you're like, really? Just, you couldn't at least try to get it out. You just flip the cushion and just
Right.
roll out. Just stuff like that. I've had a couple of people, like, took a few items here or there. But honestly, I have not had any issues with guests. Now, I have had some issues with, just the place. Like, you have to be more mindful of where you are renting your Airbnb as well. I've had,
Okay.
some just things where it's like for instance, when I do like video or photo shoots, people are coming in there's multiple waves of people coming in over and over again. So like they're at the call box calling me every 5 seconds while I'm trying to do. And since I manage my own Airbnb currently, because I only have the one, people are calling
Mm-hmm.
you like every 5 seconds to get buzzed into the gate. So like there's different things where you got to make sure your Airbnb friendly apartment complex is truly Airbnb friendly for the host, because this place is not,
Mm.
as I feel like, as friendly as it could be, where it doesn't make your life as easy, I feel like, as it could be with renting the space. But honestly, I have not had any things. But I mean, there's things that have happened where people just don't take care of your place. People have had things like I'm on a bunch of Airbnb, and I've got a lot of ideas from other Airbnb hosts being on. I'm on a bunch of Airbnb Facebook groups, and just horror stories where people like tear things up, they rip stuff off the walls. I mean, different things. And Airbnb, like I've never, anytime I'd have to go after the guest, I actually contact the guest and send like an invoice to say like, hey, this is what's done. Give a description. I always, have a video, and that's the main thing too. When you are an Airbnb host, always, 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 always take before and after videos of when a person leaves and before they get there, because you don't want to come to the thing where something's broken or whatever, but you can't prove it, because Airbnb wants
Mm-hmm.
proof at the wazoo why you're getting reimbursed for a missing item, or why you're getting reimbursed for this, or why you're getting reimbursed for that. So you need to have photo, video, whatever proof. So I always make sure when my cleaner comes in that you're taking videos of the whole place after the person leaves, and then you're taking an ending video, say like, this is how nice it looked before the next guest came. So there's no, like, oh, was this like this? No, it wasn't. And here's the video of what it looked like before you step foot in the door. So
Mm-hmm.
that as well. So I mean, there's just really, for me, it really hasn't been any horror stories, but there's just different things, like just nuances where you just have to just cover yourself, because you have to have proof of everything. Because Airbnb,
Right,
I think they
right.
do have insurance, but they want to make sure you go after the guests first. And so like you have
Mm-hmm.
to, do that request of different things, like when there was like a little present on my sofa, it's like, show pictures like this is what's left here, blah, blah, blah. And, I sent the extra invoice for the extra cleaning that needed to be done. And, she willingly paid it, but that was the first time I've ever had to request money from someone. So I was super nervous, because I've heard horror stories. We were like, I'm not paying that. I'm not paying that. And then sometimes Airbnb
Mm-hmm.
is not so quick to give you your money back either, and they'll side with the guest versus the host. So I have not had that. So I've been, and maybe it's just because my place is so lovely, nobody wants to mess it up, and just keep stuff nice, people. It's like that's all I ask. So yeah.
Absolutely. And that's also really telling though, because they can tell the intentionality and the effort that you put in your house. And so it's not like you have crappy furniture or just worn out stuff. So they know that you put a lot into it. They can see the value in it. And so then they also want to take care of it too. And so that's good
Hmm.
for people to keep in mind when they're going to be renting out, whether it's full houses or they're going to be Airbnb. People know quality, and that's going to be the type of people that you're going to attract into your
Right.
space.
Right. Right.
Now
I mean,
you
because
mentioned you manage
I
your
like, as an Airbnb. I'm sorry, as an Airbnb host
mm,
too. Like some people are like, well, you want to get booked, you want to stay booked all the time. I want to stay booked, yes, but I'm not going to drop my price below a certain level, because I feel like there's a certain level of person
mm,
that may not take care of your place. So like there's certain a dollar amount I'm not going to drop. Like I'm never going to drop my Airbnb down to like $59, or somebody's like, oh, drop it down to 39. At least somebody's in there. No, because that's not who I want to be in there. So like you
mm-hmm.
have to consider that too, the type of guest. And I'm not saying every type of guest, if you're paying a bargain based up price, that you're going to trash my place. But I just feel like if you're willing to pay more, you're willing to take care of more. And not saying that people that pay more won't trash your place too. There's the possibility of that as well. But I feel like it's a little bit, because it's a different caliber of guests that you're bringing into your place when you're doing the cheaper prices. At least that's my mindset. Yeah.
That is so good, having standards in our business, because we're the one that sets those. And so the same way that we would have standards for the people that we want to have in our lives, having standards for the customers that we want to serve in our business. That is great advice. And of course, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, it doesn't mean every single person is going to do it, but it's a numbers game. And
Yeah.
so the numbers are more likely going to rise that you have an issue if you have a cheaper rate for your stay versus someone. People aren't going to be doing the same thing that they're doing at the W that they may be doing at Motel 6. So
Yeah.
okay, so you mentioned you manage your property yourself. What does that
Hmm.
actually mean? What does that look like?
So I'm the person that the one it's so when I manage mine, so I take care of everything. So I take care of the guest interaction. I take care of like making sure the cleaners, doing their thing. the guest interaction, I make sure, and that's mainly the guest interaction and the cleaning is mainly the main thing I'm doing with managing. I do price labs to do it's a dynamic pricing to do my pricing, to change my pricing here or there, like when stuff is, though that still have to manage that as well. But I mean, a lot of the guest interaction. So I check in, the guest check in, I do the guest check out, and because I have it more automated, like it's not that big of a deal for me. Like I have a keyless lock. So, they have that, they come in the door, they have the keyless lock. So, I just program their code in there. I use like their last 4 digits of their phone number to make it easy for them to remember. Do the keyless lock. They can come in on their own. And then I just give them check-in instructions, like do this. And they're very elaborate check-in instructions. That way, there's been a few people that are like, where am I going? That sort of thing. And you're just like, but they're calling you. And I've had very rarely have people call me. But I'm handling the guest check-in questions, the check-in, the check-out. And if they have any questions in between, like they can either call me or text me. And so I'm doing that as well. So, and then the cleaners, oh my God, the cleaner thing. It is very difficult to find a good cleaner. Very difficult to find a reliable, good cleaner. It really is. So that as well. And you turned me on to Turno, which, is an automated system that the moment you booked Airbnb, your cleaners are notified and somebody picks up the job. So you know exactly when somebody's going to come in. And so right now I found somebody that's pretty, very reliable. So the moment a job pops up, she's my primary cleaner, but she has cleaners under her and somebody picks up the job and it's like picked up right away. So far I haven't had any issues with that so far. I mean, though there was one girl I did contact and we had a whole interaction. And then I was like, okay, come in for the interview. And then she just didn't show up and I haven't heard from her since. I'm like, what the heck? So there's just people the people that are working for you or the people that you hire, like different contractors or that come in and did like the painting and the wallpaper and everything, like horror stories about that sort of, that interaction or whatever. It's a lot, but I mean, honestly, just managing myself because I just have the one, it's not that bad. But I gotta make sure, like in the evenings and stuff, I always have my ringer on. Like I always have my phone turned on. I have my ringer on. Most of the time, I turn my phone on silent in the evenings. But when I have a guest, and I always have my ringer on to make sure. Like, and I've had guests call me at like 1 o'clock in the morning, like, "Hey, how do you do this?" I'm like, "Oh my God, like I had a blonde moment or whatever they say or whatever," and they're like, then they just go about their business. So sorry, it's working, like it's perfectly fine or whatever. So yeah, but
hey y'all, Tiffany here. Are you looking to purchase or sell real estate? As you know, I'm your aid to assets, and I want to help you with all of your real estate endeavors. Whether you're local here like me in the Fayetteville, North Carolina area, I can then help you purchase or sell your next property. If you're looking to purchase or sell outside of North Carolina, let me know too. I can still help you. I have a team of agents all over the country that I can connect you with to partner on your next deal. Let's get to the closing table, y'all. We buy our way to wealth, whether that's buying right or selling better. Can't wait to hear from you. Click on the link in the bio if you want more information on how to personally work with me or an agent on my team. Talk to you soon. Absolutely. And so truly treating it as a business. So having people that you're hiring and sometimes firing, it sounds like going through cleaners. So just pro tip, if you love to clean, if you have the gift of cleaning, think about starting a cleaning business to help out Airbnb hosts. There is definitely a need for that. And then also just making sure that you have instructions. And so, so would you ever consider hiring out for someone else to manage your property for you?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. I'm like, 'cause I plan on getting more. And so there's no way I'm going to be able to handle all of this. Like right now, it's not bad. And this is my baby. It's my first one, so,
yeah.
But I think definitely going forward, once I get more, I'm definitely going to hire out, especially if I'm no longer in Atlanta, because I want to go someplace beachy. So I don't plan on staying here like forever. So I want to be beachy, and Atlanta is not beachy. So, I mean, with that, I'm probably going to hire somebody out just so like if anything's going on or happening, there's somebody local here that can take care of things. If anything comes about, like I've never had to come over here and help out a guest with anything. I've never had to do that, but that's not to say that that might not happen at some point in time. And I want to make sure I have somebody there versus me just trying to figure it out. And so I definitely will hire somebody like going forward. But as of now, I'm good with what I'm doing now. So.
Okay. Now I know we're going to do the tour of the Airbnb because I can't wait for folks to see how beautiful it is. But before we get to that, two things that I want to ask you. So one, we like to do predictions here. I like to call it instead, it's more of a manifestation. And so when you see it, and you started to talk about this a little bit, and so when we look back on this a year, 3 years, 5 years from now, what is going to be true for you and your business?
Oh my goodness. So, oh, so many things. So, so I will definitely have multiple Airbnbs under my belt, and I will be transitioning out of. I know this is a real estate podcast, so I'll be transitioning out of the whole model of doing Airbnb arbitrage. I plan on probably still keeping some in Airbnb arbitrage, but I want to have my own multifamily building where I just rent out my units, and they all happen to be on, short-term rental units. And my main thing I'm going to do is I'm all about passive because I like to travel, like to be kind of hands off. Storage units. I'm looking into storage units. Just so much passive and multiple streams of income from storage units and it's very passive and it's lucrative because I know of myself, and I think we've all done it, where you had a storage unit for years and you're just paying the money and your stuff's just sitting there
Yes.
forever. You don't step foot in that puppy. You don't do anything. And like I had one in Seattle. I had it for over, I think it was 2-3 years. I wasn't in Seattle for 2-3 years and my stuff was I'm just paying
Yep.
what public storage, hey, public storage, take my money. And it's just sitting there.
Yes.
So, so that's like my kind of my next venture is to do that as well. Yeah. And I definitely want to start
Love that.
decorating, helping other people follow their dream of decorating Airbnbs as well, because it's a skill. It is. And I didn't realize it's a skill that I have, but it's a skill. It's a skill to do that. So I want to help other people do it because some people just don't have that or feel nervous about it. Like I felt nervous. And then all I need is that little push out, like bungee jumping or, skydiving, push you out the plane and you're like just flying, solo. So, it's good. So I want to start doing that as well.
That is so cool. So I'm curious, I know I said 2 questions, but just kidding. And we've talked about this. We both went into rental arbitrage, and then we're both also looking at the multifamily. So for people who don't understand why there's a difference, can you help explain like why that you decided to go that route and then shift into the multifamily?
Mm-hmm. So Airbnb arbitrage, the reason why I chose this is because it's a low barrier to entry. All you have to do is pay your security deposit and pay your rent and you're done. That's it. With a multifamily or any type of real estate that you're buying, you're going to have to worry about down payments, closing costs, all these different things. And you're not going to be able to scale as quickly because you're not buying, especially you're buying multifamilies, you're not buying a $500,000 building every other month. Like, you can get an Airbnb like every other month, or you can use some business credit, $50,000. You're good to go. You can furnish, a couple Airbnbs. You can get, you get multiple Airbnbs at that time, and you're kind of rolling that way. It's a lot more difficult to do that starting out if you're like buying right off the bat. I mean, even if you are buying like just say you're buying a house that's a lower, value, or you're paying a lower amount, you still have to rehab it and then do it. So it's still like you're waiting that time period. So that's the reason why for me it's like it was just a low barrier to entry, easy. Like all you got to do is you get approved for a lease and you're good to go, and you're done. That's it. So it just makes it's a lot easier to start.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so for real, the last question before we go on the tour is looking back now, you've been in the Airbnb game for almost a year now.
Almost.
That is so exciting. And so what advice would you give to Teresa a year ago, knowing now what you do?
I definitely would have started sooner. So I came out here in April and my Airbnb was not up until the following January. So it's like, okay, like what are we doing in between that time? So I definitely would have started like taking action sooner because everything's scary to start. Like the unknown is scary. It just is. Unless you're just one of those people that just like, I'll just go for it. Like I'm a very calculated person, with certain things. And, I want to make sure that I'm not broke. I mean, that's my main thing. I don't want to be broke. And so I would just say start sooner and trust yourself sooner because it took me a minute. And I think the reason what helped me was because I had like people like Dr. Tremaine Young. I had our morning meetup group. I had different things where like that entrepreneur thing, even though somebody wasn't like physically telling me, when you want to get your Airbnb started, Teresa, they weren't physically saying that, but it was like constantly being reiterated, like, you need to like focus on your business, take action, do this. And so that was constantly in my head to the point where like, Teresa, what are you doing? This is what you came here for. You specifically said you came to Atlanta for business and you're not doing any business. So get yourself together.
Mhm.
So that's what I would have done more than anything was like, once you made the decision to do it, freaking jump in and do it. For
Jump
sure.
in. The net'll
Yeah.
catch you.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so show us this gorgeous 70s retro
Yeah.
Airbnb. Let's see what we got.
Okay. Tour time. So exciting. Okay. Can you see me good?
I can.
Okay. So let's start from the kitchen. So let's walk you through the front door. So this is the front door. So let's go like turn around this way. Okay, perfect. So this is like kind of the kitchen area here. So walk in the kitchen area. And then this is Tiffany, this is the mirror that Tiffany got. This is one of the things Tiffany picked out for me.
And I
And then
still love that mirror.
these things across the cabinets, that was Tiffany too. She's like, oh, do you like those? I'm like, oh, those are cool. I'll make those work. Just really cute. Just added a little bling to it. I have like my Keurig thing, and this is, I kind of want to show some befores, but these are these chairs are really, I just bought these cushions to go in here, but I was sitting here physically myself, and I'm like, these kind of hurt my hiney a little bit. So I got these little cute pillows, and they work perfectly. So it's great. So this is where my living room. This table is amazing. I got this at one of the vintage shops in Atlanta. And this is the sofa that started it all. This one right here started it all. And so everything came together. So that these lamps, the tables, they were all like little phones. Hello.
Yes, old school phone.
With a little vintage
Wow.
phone. And so the lamps and the tables have all been switched out. So I got the lamps in here, and then I'm just like, oh, maybe not. So that, and then there's another phone over here. So there's my vintage record player that I was telling you about. Can you see this?
Yes. Oh,
Yes.
it's legit.
Oh, yes. Isn't it nice? So it used to play, now it
It
doesn't.
is.
So it's fine. So, and then just little things like design-wise, like these used to be like big giant blinds here, this white blinds. And I took the blinds down and had somebody hang these big, gorgeous curtains up there just for the dramatic
Yeah.
effect of it. So yeah, and I got these and you don't have to spend a lot of money on everything. I got these at Marshall's, and they didn't they look okay, but once they were hung and they were high, gorgeous effect. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So then we go in the first bedroom. So this is a 2-bedroom, 2-bath. So
wow.
This is the second bedroom. So you see this light fixture up here at the top, that was changed out 3 times. So this is the 4th light that was in there because it just didn't look right. So you got to kind of play with it when you're thinking of design. And this wall here was the wallpaper. So this is when you have to select your people. So the wallpaper in here versus the wallpaper that was against my sofa, I had a guy that was just a handyman guy do it. And you can see the lines in the thing. You can't, they're not obvious now, but you can see the lines where each strip starts and stops. That one, it just looks like a full sheet of wallpaper. You can't tell. So you need to make sure that you're always picking the right contractors. And just because somebody says, oh, I do wallpaper, I actually had a wallpaper person do the wallpaper that's in the living room and the other bedroom. So it makes a difference.
Okay.
And it was way more expensive, but it was worth it. So here's the infamous gas pump that started all of this, all of it.
Wow, that is so cool.
So it's a real gas pump too. So I had he had a rag in there.
Real.
I'm like, it's real. Yes, because he had a rag in there. I'm like, oh my God, this smells like gasoline. So I had to make sure I was going to blow anything up. So yeah. And then here's the bathroom. So
I love the colors.
yes. So then the shower here, and so I did change it, and just little touches where there's the old shower head. Show the shower head. So I just changed out the shower head to be a handheld, just for convenience for my cleaners and for my guests. It just makes everything easier to clean. And then these ginormous closets, which I probably need to do something with. They're just, this is another bedroom. These closets are huge. So just a little, you helped me hang that picture too, Tiffany, right? You helped me hang those pictures.
I did.
Yes. Yeah.
I do a little bit. I don't have the creative foresight like Teresa does, but I do a little bit.
So
let me get a full shot of the kitchen too from this angle.
Oh, of course. Get a full shot of the kitchen.
Yeah, let's see the full. Okay, yeah.
So you see the toaster,
absolutely.
I even did the whole vintage thing through the thing, the toaster back here. I got that from Amazon, but a vintage toaster. I try to make sure I coordinated everything in here. So yeah, I've got the little coffee, the tea, the creamer. It's like a little bit of extra. And I also give water to my guests as well. Just a little extra something for them to have.
This
And then
is
this
the
is my,
hospitality business. Love it.
yes, it is. So this is my favorite
This is my
room.
favorite room.
Yes. So the wallpaper is like, that's what did it for me. I'm like, I'm freaking loving this freaking wallpaper.
Yes.
No, this is the wallpaper guy that did this. And see how good this stuff looks? I mean, you can't see where one seam ends and one begins. Just gorgeous. I love this. I love this room.
Absolutely gorgeous. Yes.
And then just like adding a little bit of green. And a little bit of green in here. Just like the little plant, just a little bit of green is also nice too. Just to get like make it a little bit more homey feeling. But and then like these tables too as well, vintage. Those have been switched out only once, I think. I only switched those out once. So, but I switched
and
out
I
a lot
love
of
the
things.
light
And
fixture up there too.
this light fixture, I paid I invested in this light fixture. It gives off no light, but it's gorgeous. Yeah, so I changed all the light fixtures. Yeah, it's very cute. But I changed all my light fixtures just for the added touch. And then, yeah, this is just my favorite, just in general. So this is like, like the get naked, telling people what do you do when you get in the shower? You get naked. So that, and then I also have, here's a tip too. So with your Airbnb, if you want to make a little bit more money, get the cots here. So I have some cots here. So if people were like, well, it's okay, so it only has, 3 beds, but if you get some extra beds, that's extra money because you have more people. Got the little lemonade.
Nice.
Beyonce.
Oh, to Beyonce. Yes.
Yes. So yeah, like just vintage, like just little things that just kind of set it off. And I got this idea from you too, Tiffany. It's like getting a little basket with the towels and stuff.
Absolutely.
Can you see it? Yeah. So that kind of that idea too. So yeah. So I mean, that's the main thing. And then I don't know if you caught did you get the chandelier in the living room? So that was like, I love this too. So it was just such a fun experience doing the whole thing. It was amazing. It was just amazing. So yeah.
I love this for you. It is absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much for the tour. So now tell us, one, if people want to book your Airbnb link, we will have the description. We will have the link in the description. And so if you're ever in Atlanta and you want to stay at 70s Retro, but also if they want to reach out to you and they want help designing their Airbnb, how can they reach out to you?
So you can contact me through social media, IG page. I have my IG page as Teresa Harrat, but I also have an IG page as Stay Retro Soul because that's the name of Stay Retro Soul on all platforms. So there's my Wi-Fi if you're ever inside my Airbnb.
Yes, so we are promoting those 5-star reviews.
I know, right?
Yes, Stay Retro Soul. That is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, Stay Retro Soul. Yes, on all platforms. Yes. So yeah, IG, Perfect. TikTok, YouTube, all that. Yes. So
wonderful.
Yeah.
Okay.
So please contact me. I would love that.
Absolutely. Well, Teresa, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, sharing your knowledge with us, and also giving us a tour of your amazing Airbnb. This was absolutely wonderful.
Thank you so much, Tiffany. I appreciate you were asking me and so excited. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
For sure. So, y'all, this is another episode of Aid to Assets podcast. Be sure to hit that like button. Like I said, if you're ever in Atlanta, you want to stay at Stay Retro Soul, it is available for you. Until next time, bye. Thank you for tuning in to another insightful episode of Aid to Assets. Remember, your journey from 9-to-5er to successful real estate investor is within reach. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep investing in your future. If you'd like to know more, connect with me on Instagram at Aid to Assets. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Until next time, happy investing.